Chapter 1. The Ambassador's Descent. The endless expanse of the Pacific Ocean stretched beneath Ambassador Zura's spacecraft, a vast blue canvas punctuated by occasional emerald islands. From her vantage high above Earth's atmosphere, Zura marveled at the planet her people had observed for centuries. As the lead diplomat of the Galactic Confederation, she had seen countless worlds, but Earth always fascinated her. Despite being technologically primitive, Earth's inhabitants displayed a resilience and creativity unmatched in the galaxy. Zura's admiration was abruptly interrupted by the shrill sound of alarms. Red warning lights flashed across her control panel, and the ship began to shudder violently. "Computer status report," Zura commanded, her four-fingered hands moving swiftly across the holographic controls. "Ambassador, we have sustained critical damage to our primary propulsion system and shield generators," the AI responded calmly. "Origin of attack unknown. Crash landing imminent." Zura's heart pounded as she processed the information. An attack here, in the protected space of a pre-contact world, was unprecedented. It was a gross violation of Confederation law, but there was no time to ponder the implications as her ship plummeted towards Earth's surface. "Computer, find the nearest landmass for emergency landing," Zura ordered, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Calculating. Nearest suitable landing zone is an uninhabited island approximately 200 kilometers from our current position. Adjusting course now." The ship lurched as it changed direction, skimming the ocean's surface. A small speck of land grew larger on the horizon, and Zura gritted her teeth, using all her piloting skills to keep the damaged craft airborne for just a few more moments. With a deafening roar, the ship crashed onto the sandy beach, carving a deep furrow before coming to a stop at the edge of a dense jungle. Zura was thrown against her restraints, momentarily winded. "Computer, damage assessment," she wheezed. "Hull integrity at 62%. Life support systems functional. Communication array offline. Emergency beacon active but operating at reduced power." Zura unstrapped herself and stood on shaky legs. Grabbing an emergency survival pack, she cycled the airlock open and stepped out onto Earth. The humid air hit her like a wall, and her pale blue skin, adapted to the cooler climates of her home world, immediately glistened with moisture. The air was breathable, though the high oxygen content made her feel slightly lightheaded. Her large, multifaceted eyes scanned the beach and the dense vegetation beyond. The island seemed deserted, but she couldn't be sure. As she pondered her next steps, securing shelter, finding water, and attempting repairs, a movement caught her eye. She turned sharply, her hand instinctively reaching for her defensive weapon. A human figure emerged from the tree line, a tall, lean man with sun-bronzed skin and a scraggly beard, holding a crude spear. His green eyes, filled with a mix of fear and wonder, locked onto her. For a long moment, neither moved. Zura's mind raced. This was exactly the scenario she was trained to avoid. Direct contact with a pre-spaceflight civilization could have dire consequences, but her current situation left her little choice. The human spoke, his words unintelligible, but his tone cautious. He gestured towards her ship, then back at her. Slowly, Zura raised her hands in what she hoped was a universal sign of peace. "I mean you no harm," she said, knowing he wouldn't understand her words but hoping her tone would convey her intentions. The human, after a pause, mimicked her gesture and lowered his spear. He pointed to himself and said, "Jack," thumping his chest. Zura repeated his name, Jack, and introduced herself in kind. Jack's face broke into a smile, transforming his wary expression into one of excitement. He gestured for her to follow him, pointing into the jungle. Zura hesitated, knowing that following him violated every protocol she had been taught. But as she glanced back at her ruined ship, she knew her options were limited. Apologizing silently to her superiors, she nodded and followed Jack into the dense foliage. Chapter 2. The Hidden Sanctuary. Jack led Zura through the dense jungle, navigating with the confidence of someone who knew the terrain intimately. They eventually emerged into a small clearing where Jack had established a crude but functional shelter constructed from pieces of a small boat or plane. Nearby, a small garden thrived with native plants, and a stream ran along the edge of the clearing. Jack gestured proudly at his camp, then motioned to the stream, inviting Zura to drink. As Zura cautiously approached the stream, her extra-sensitive hearing picked up a sound that Jack had yet to notice. It was a sound she recognized all too well: spacecraft entering the atmosphere. Panic gripped her as she realized the implications. These were not Confederation vessels. They had to be the same hostiles that had shot her down, returning to finish the job. Zura turned to Jack, her urgency clear. She pointed to the sky, then to his shelter. Understanding immediately, Jack quickly gathered his essential tools and weapons. Together they worked to camouflage the entrance to his shelter with vegetation and debris, just as the first hostile ship appeared overhead. Jack pulled Zura into the shelter, and they huddled together in the cramped, dark space. Despite his fear, Jack positioned himself protectively in front of her, spear ready. The hostile ships hovered overhead, their anti-gravity engines whining. Explosions shook the ground, and Zura knew with sinking certainty that they were destroying the evidence of her landing. For hours, the ships methodically searched the island. Zura marveled at Jack's ingenuity. His shelter, though simple, was remarkably effective at masking their heat signatures and scent. As night fell, the ships finally departed, leaving behind a scorched landscape. When they emerged, Zura saw the destruction the hostiles had left. Much of the jungle was burned or flattened, and her ship was now a smoking crater. Jack placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, his eyes reflecting not pity, but a fierce determination. He gestured to himself, then to her, and made a motion that clearly meant together. In that moment, Zura realized her mission had irrevocably changed. She was no longer just an observer. She was now an active participant in humanity's story, and Jack was her ally. Chapter 3. United in Purpose. Jack's decision to risk his life sent a chill through Zura. Over the next few hours, a plan took shape. A small team would infiltrate the island where Zura's ship had crashed, while Earth's military provided a distraction. Their mission was to locate and extract the AI core from Zura's ship, which was crucial to defeating the Void Reavers. Zura's knowledge of the ship made her indispensable to the mission, and she would accompany them. As preparations were made, Zura pulled Jack aside. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her concern evident even through the electronic tones of her translator. Jack's face softened. "No," he admitted, "but I'm sure about you, about us, about what we're fighting for. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith." His words stirred something in Zura, a feeling she had been grappling with since their time together on the island. Protocol and caution fell away. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead to Jack's, an intimate gesture among her people. To her surprise and joy, Jack seemed to understand, wrapping his arms around her in a gentle embrace. The moment was interrupted by the call to assemble. They joined the rest of the team, a mix of Special Forces operatives and tech experts. Zura felt a new resolve. This wasn't just about saving Earth anymore. It was about fighting for a future where beings from different worlds could stand together as equals. The mission began under the cover of darkness. Earth's remaining air forces engaged the Void Reavers in a massive dogfight over the Pacific, while Zura and her team approached the island in a stealth submersible. Above them, the night sky was lit up with explosions, a deadly light show that reflected off the choppy waves. As they neared the shore, Zura activated her personal cloaking device, extending its field to cover the entire team. It wouldn't fool the Void Reavers' most advanced sensors, but it would give them a fighting chance to slip past the perimeter defenses. The island, once a lush paradise, was now a scarred battleground. The jungle had been cleared to make way for the Void Reavers' base, a sprawling complex of alien architecture that pulsed with ominous energy. In the distance, Zura could see the crater where her ship had crashed, now surrounded by heavy fortifications. "This way," Zura whispered, leading the team through a gap in the enemy patrols. Her knowledge of Void Reaver tactics combined with Jack's survival skills and the Special Forces training made them a formidable infiltration unit. They reached the crash site but encountered a major obstacle, an energy barrier surrounding the crater. Zura's heart sank. Breaking through would alert the entire base to their presence. But human ingenuity surprised her once again. One of the tech experts, a young woman named Aisha, pulled out a device she had cobbled together from Earth tech and salvaged alien components. "It's a localized EMP," Aisha explained. "It should create a momentary gap in the barrier, but we'll only have seconds to get through." Jack nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Then we'll make those seconds count." The plan worked, but barely. As they slipped through the flickering barrier, alarms began to blare across the base. They had minutes at most before they would be overwhelmed. Zura led them to what remained of her ship's central chamber. The AI core, a crystalline structure the size of a human fist, pulsed with a faint blue light amidst the twisted metal. As Zura carefully extracted it, she felt a pang of sadness. This was the heart of her ship, her home for so many years, and now it would be sacrificed to save a world not her own. "We've got incoming," one of the soldiers shouted as the sounds of energy weapons charging filled the air. What happened next was a blur of chaos and heroism. The team fought their way back through the Void Reaver forces, each member pushing themselves beyond their limits. Zura found herself fighting alongside humans, her advanced knowledge of the enemy's weaknesses complementing their combat skills. They were nearly at the extraction point when disaster struck. A Void Reaver energy blast caught Jack in the side, sending him sprawling. Without hesitation, Zura turned back, firing her own weapon with one hand while dragging Jack to safety with the other. As they reached the submersible, Zura made a split-second decision. She pressed the AI core into Aisha's hands. "Get this to the command center. It's Earth's only hope." Before anyone could protest, she activated her personal shield, expanding it to cover Jack. "Go," she shouted. "We'll hold them off." As the submersible disappeared beneath the waves, Zura turned to face the oncoming Void Reavers, Jack leaning heavily against her but still standing, still fighting. In that moment, as they prepared to make their last stand, Zura felt no regret. She had found something on this planet worth fighting for, worth dying for. But fate had other plans. Just as they were about to be overwhelmed, the sky lit up with a new kind of energy signature, one that Zura recognized with a surge of hope. The Confederation had finally arrived. As Void Reaver ships began to fall from the sky, disabled by the advanced weaponry of the Confederation fleet, Zura allowed herself to believe that they might survive this after all. She looked at Jack, saw the wonder and hope in his eyes as he beheld the awesome sight of humanity's first official contact with a galactic power, and felt her heart swell with emotion. Whatever came next, the galaxy had been forever changed. Humanity had proven itself a force to be reckoned with, and Zura knew that her report to the Confederation would reflect that. This remarkable species, with their boundless creativity and indomitable spirit, deserved a place among the stars. As Confederation shuttles descended to the island, Zura took Jack's hand in hers. Together, they had bridged the gap between two worlds. Now it was time to build a future where those worlds could coexist, learn from each other, and face the challenges of the cosmos side by side. Before proceeding, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Chapter 4. A New Dawn. The Confederation flagship, Stellar Harmony, hung in Earth's orbit, its sleek organic design a stark contrast to the angular Void Reaver ships that now drifted powerless in space. On the bridge, Zura stood beside Jack, both still bearing the scars and grime of their recent battle. Before them, a holographic display showed the ongoing cleanup operations across the planet. "Your world is safe," Zura said softly, her translator conveying the warmth in her voice. "The Void Reavers have been neutralized." Jack nodded, his eyes fixed on the blue marble of Earth below. "We couldn't have done it without you," he replied, his hand finding hers and squeezing gently. Their moment of quiet reflection was interrupted by the arrival of High Counselor Threa, the leader of the Confederation task force. The tall, ethereal being regarded the pair with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Ambassador Zura," Threa's melodious voice filled the bridge. "Your actions have placed us in an unprecedented situation. The level of interference—" "With all due respect, High Counselor," Zura interrupted, straightening her posture, "I believe our non-interference policies need to be re-evaluated. Humanity has proven itself more than capable of joining the galactic community." Threa's luminescent eyes widened slightly, then turned to Jack. "And what do you think, human? Is your species ready for the challenges and responsibilities that come with galactic citizenship?" Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. He was no diplomat, no world leader, just a man who had found himself at the center of an interstellar conflict. But as he looked around at the advanced technology of the Confederation ship, he felt not intimidation, but inspiration. "We may not have your level of technology," Jack began, his voice steady, "but humanity has something just as valuable. We have an unbreakable spirit, a creativity that thrives under pressure, and a capacity for growth that I think would surprise you." He gestured to the display showing Earth. "Look at what we accomplished against the Void Reavers with just a fraction of your knowledge. Imagine what we could do as part of the Confederation, not just for ourselves, but for the galaxy. Threa was silent for a long moment, their expression unreadable. Finally they spoke. Your words carry wisdom, human. Perhaps it is time for the Confederation to reconsider its stance on emerging species. They turned to Zura. Ambassador, I'm assigning you as our official liaison to Earth. Your unique perspective will be invaluable as we navigate this new relationship. Zura felt a surge of emotion, pride, excitement, and a touch of apprehension. Thank you, High Counselor. I won't let you down. As Threa departed, Zura and Jack were left alone once more. The magnitude of what had just transpired began to sink in. So, Jack said with a hint of his old humor, does this mean I get to see your homeworld after all? Zura laughed, a sound that still surprised Jack with its musical quality. I believe that can be arranged, but first, we have work to do here. Over the next few weeks, Earth underwent a transformation unlike anything in its history. The process of integrating human society with the wider galactic community began in earnest. Zura found herself at the center of it all, bridging the gap between human governments and Confederation diplomats. To her constant amazement, humanity continued to surpass expectations. Earth scientists eagerly collaborated with their alien counterparts, their unique perspectives leading to breakthroughs that benefited both sides. Human artists and philosophers engaged in cultural exchanges that enriched the galactic discourse. Even in the realm of technology, Earth's engineers often found innovative applications for Confederation tech that had never been considered before. Jack, for his part, became an unofficial ambassador in his own right. His straightforward manner and first-hand experience with both human and alien perspectives made him an invaluable asset in smoothing over cultural misunderstandings. He took to the role with surprising aptitude, his natural charisma and quick wit endearing him to humans and aliens alike. 1 year after the Void Reaver invasion, Earth was ready to take its place as a probationary member of the Galactic Confederation. The ceremony, broadcast across the planet and to thousands of worlds beyond, was a spectacle of unity and hope. As Zura watched Earth's representatives sign the accession treaty, she felt a swell of pride unlike anything she had experienced in her diplomatic career. This was more than a political victory. It was the beginning of a new era for the galaxy. After the ceremony, Zura found Jack standing alone on a balcony overlooking the sprawling city below, now dotted with signs of alien architecture seamlessly blending with human designs. A credit for your thoughts, she asked, using the human phrase she had learned from him. Jack turned to her, a smile playing on his lips. Just thinking about that day on the island, when I first saw you step out of your crashed ship. If someone had told me then that I'd be standing here a year later, watching Earth join a galactic alliance. He shook his head in wonder. Zura stepped closer, taking his hand in hers. The gesture, once alien to her, now felt as natural as breathing. You've come a long way from that castaway, she said softly. We both have, Jack replied, his green eyes meeting her multifaceted ones. So, what's next for us, Ambassador? More diplomatic missions? Exploring the far reaches of the galaxy? Zura's expression turned serious. Actually, I've been thinking. The Void Reavers may have been defeated, but they were just one threat among many in the galaxy. Earth's unique approach to problem-solving, combined with Confederation technology, could be the key to addressing some of the greatest challenges facing the galactic community. Jack raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What do you have in mind? I'm proposing a new initiative, Zura explained, her excitement evident in her voice. A joint task force of humans and Confederation members dedicated to tackling the most pressing issues in the galaxy, from ecological disasters on far-flung worlds to diplomatic crises between ancient species. We'll be there to help. Sounds like quite the adventure, Jack said, a familiar glint of determination in his eyes. When do we start? Zura felt a rush of affection for this remarkable human who had changed her life in so many ways. How does tomorrow sound? She asked. Jack's response was to pull her close, pressing his forehead to hers in the gesture she had taught him, now laden with shared meaning. I wouldn't miss it for the world, he whispered. As they stood there, an alien and a human united by shared experiences and a common purpose, the landscape before them seemed to symbolize the future they were building. It was a future of challenges, certainly, but also one of unlimited potential. a future where the best of humanity and the wonders of the galaxy combine to create something greater than the sum of its parts. The story of Earth's entry into the galactic stage was just beginning, but it was already shaping up to be one for the ages. And at the heart of it all was an unlikely pair, a once-stranded alien diplomat and a resourceful human castaway, whose bond had not only saved the world, but changed the course of galactic history. As the twin suns of Earth's new era set on the horizon, Zura and Jack looked to the stars, ready for whatever adventures awaited them in the vast, beautiful, ever-surprising cosmos. Chapter 5. The Unseen Threat. Earth's induction into the Galactic Confederation had been a whirlwind of activity, diplomacy, and celebration. But as the days turned into weeks, Zura and Jack found themselves thrust into the complexities of their new roles. They were no longer just heroes of a past battle. They were architects of a future that balanced the hopes of a burgeoning interstellar alliance with the realities of deep-seated galactic politics. The first major test of their new initiative, a joint task force aimed at tackling galaxy-wide crises, came sooner than expected. Reports arrived of a mysterious disease sweeping through the outer colonies of the Confederation, affecting both indigenous and immigrant populations with alarming speed. The symptoms were severe, a rapid breakdown of cellular structures leading to organ failure. So far, no known species had proven immune, and the Confederation's most advanced medical teams were stumped. Zura and Jack were summoned to a high-priority meeting aboard the Stellar Harmony. The atmosphere was tense. The High Command feared that if left unchecked, this plague could spread across star systems, threatening entire civilizations. "We've lost contact with 3 more colonies in Sector 8, reported Commander Rila, a stern reptilian member of the Confederation's Defense Council. "We're estimating casualties in the tens of thousands already." Zura exchanged a concerned glance with Jack. The situation was dire, and the implications were staggering. If the disease spread to Earth, it could devastate the planet before it had a chance to fully establish itself as a Confederation member. "What do we know about this disease?" Zura asked, her voice calm but firm. "Not much," admitted Dr. Vekra, the Confederation's leading xenobiologist. "It seems to adapt rapidly, bypassing known immune responses and mutating faster than our standard medical treatments can keep up. Initial analyses suggest it might not be a naturally occurring phenomenon." Jack leaned forward, frowning. "You think it's engineered?" "It's possible, Doctor," Vekra conceded. "But we've yet to find any concrete evidence." The room fell silent as the implications settled in. An engineered pathogen could only mean one thing. Someone had weaponized biology in a way the Confederation had never encountered. Zura's mind raced. "We need to know the source. If this is an act of aggression, we're dealing with more than just a medical emergency." High Counselor Threya nodded, their expression grave. "We've tasked our best reconnaissance teams with investigating potential origins, but it's slow going. In the meantime, I'm authorizing your task force, Ambassador Zura. You and Commander Jack are to head to the affected zones and gather any intel that might point us toward a solution, or a culprit." Jack's jaw tightened. This was precisely the kind of mission they had envisioned for the task force, but the stakes were higher than he'd ever imagined. "We'll get to the bottom of this," he promised, glancing at Zura. "Whatever it takes." Zura nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility but also a renewed sense of purpose. The survival of countless lives depended on their success, and failure was not an option. Their ship, the Resolute Dawn, was a marvel of hybrid technology, combining Confederation design with human ingenuity. As they sped toward the outer colonies, Zura and Jack pored over reports and hypotheses from Confederation scientists. The situation grew more alarming with each new piece of information. Not only was the pathogen spreading rapidly, but it was also evolving, showing signs of targeting key genetic markers across multiple species. "It's like it knows what to attack," Jack muttered, staring at the data. "Every new strain seems to be designed to bypass whatever defenses the previous species have." Zura's eyes narrowed as she studied the data. "That suggests intent. Someone, or something, is actively guiding its evolution." The first colony they visited, Falara 3, was a scene of devastation. Once a thriving trade hub, the colony was now eerily silent. Buildings stood abandoned, and the few survivors they found were too weak to provide coherent answers. The air was thick with the stench of decay and the hum of malfunctioning machinery. Zura and Jack, protected by advanced biohazard suits, moved cautiously through the desolate streets, scanning for any signs of what might have triggered the outbreak. As they entered what had once been a bustling market square, Jack's suit sensors pinged. "Got something," he said, moving towards a crumpled figure slumped against a stall. It was a Falaran, its mottled skin now covered in a sickly gray sheen. In its hand, it clutched a small device, an alien data pad. Zura knelt beside the body, gently prying the device free. "This could be it," she said, plugging the pad into her suit's interface. After a tense moment, a stream of encrypted data appeared on her visor. Jack watched as Zura's fingers danced over the controls, breaking the encryption layer by layer. Finally, a document appeared, full of schematics and coded instructions that made Zura's heart skip a beat. "This is no accident," she said, her voice tight. "These are detailed plans for a bioweapon, targeted at the Confederation." Jack swore under his breath. "Who the hell would do this?" Zura's eyes scanned the schematics, her mind racing. "It's sophisticated, more sophisticated than anything the Void Reavers could have developed. We're dealing with a new player, one with the resources and knowledge to challenge the Confederation directly." As they continued to sift through the data, a name emerged: the Shadow Collective, a secretive organization rumored to operate in the galaxy's fringes, dealing in black market tech, weapons, and now it seemed bioweapons. "Looks like we've got a new enemy," Jack said grimly, "and they're not playing by any rules we know." Zura nodded, determination hardening her resolve. "Then we'll have to make our own rules. We need to stop this, Jack, not just for the Confederation, but for every world out there that could be next on their list, including Earth." The Resolute Dawn departed Falara 3, heading deeper into uncharted space where the Shadow Collective was believed to operate. For Zura and Jack, the mission had shifted from a rescue operation to a hunt for those responsible. As they plunged into the unknown, they knew one thing for sure: they were no longer just defenders of Earth. They were defenders of the galaxy, facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. Chapter 6. Into the Shadows. The trail of the Shadow Collective led Zura and Jack to the edge of known space, to a region shrouded in nebulae and ion storms where star charts were little more than guesswork. Their target was a secret base believed to be the nerve center of the Shadow Collective's operations, a place known only in whispers as the Abyss. As the Resolute Dawn approached the coordinates, the stars outside the viewport dimmed, swallowed by the dense clouds of the nebula. Zura monitored the ship's instruments closely, her antennae twitching with tension. The nebula's ionized particles interfered with sensors and communications, leaving them effectively blind. "This is the perfect place to hide if you're up to no good," Jack muttered, scanning the dark void outside. "They can see us coming, but we can't see a damn thing." Zura nodded, her eyes scanning the readouts. "We'll have to rely on old-fashioned methods. Keep an eye on anything that looks out of place." Jack adjusted the ship's trajectory, navigating through the dense space clouds. Every shadow felt like a potential threat, every flicker on the instruments a possible trap. Zura could feel her pulse quicken, the danger of their mission more palpable than ever. Finally, their patience paid off. A faint energy signature appeared on the ship's scanners, hidden deep within the nebula. It was weak, almost indistinguishable from the background radiation. But it was there, a cluster of power readings that did not belong in the natural chaos of the nebula. "That's it," Zura said, her voice taut with anticipation. "That has to be the Abyss." They approached cautiously, using the nebula's interference to their advantage, hiding in the shadows as they closed in on the source of the energy signature. As they neared, the outlines of a structure came into view, a massive, fortress-like installation built into the remnants of a long-dead asteroid. The Abyss was as imposing as its name suggested, a dark mass bristling with defensive turrets and shrouded in cloaking fields. "We're not getting in through the front door," Jack observed, studying the fortress. "Any ideas?" Zura's eyes flicked over the installation, her mind racing. "The schematics we pulled from Falara 3 mentioned a maintenance bay for incoming shipments. It's likely less guarded than the main entrances. If we can breach their outer defenses, we might slip in unnoticed." Jack smirked. "Always with the sneaky approach. Let's do it." They maneuvered the Resolute Dawn into position, using the ship's stealth systems to their fullest. As they closed in on the maintenance bay, Zura hacked into the fortress's security protocols, sending false signals to the turrets and sensor arrays. For a tense moment, it seemed they might be detected, but Zura's deft touch on the controls kept them invisible to the base's scanners. "Now," Zura whispered, and Jack launched the ship into a tight docking maneuver, sliding them into the maintenance bay with barely a scrape. The interior of the abyss was a maze of dark corridors, filled with the hum of alien machinery and the occasional distant clatter of maintenance drones. Zura and Jack moved silently, their suits cloaked in camouflage fields that bent the light around them. Every step was a calculated risk, every corner held the potential for discovery. They made their way to the core of the base, where the command center was located. As they moved, they planted small discrete devices, Confederation tech that would allow them to disrupt the base's systems remotely. The goal was simple: cripple the Shadow Collective's operations and gather as much intelligence as possible before escaping. But as they neared the command center, Zura felt a strange unease. Something was off. The corridors were too quiet, the security systems too easily bypassed. It was as if the base was expecting them. Jack noticed her hesitation. "What's wrong?" Zura shook her head, her antennae twitching with suspicion. "I don't like this. It's too easy. They have to know we're here." As if in response, the lights in the corridor suddenly flared to life, and alarms blared throughout the base. The camouflage fields flickered and died, leaving Zura and Jack exposed in the harsh artificial light. "Move!" Zura shouted, and they sprinted down the corridor, weapons drawn. The base's defenses roared to life, automated turrets swiveling to track them. Jack fired, disabling the first turret with a precise shot, while Zura hacked into the control panel, forcing open a door that led them into the command center. They burst into the room, only to find it empty. The command consoles were dark, and the main view screen displayed a single message in the Confederation's common tongue. "Welcome, ambassadors." Jack's eyes narrowed. "It's a trap." A figure stepped out from the shadows, cloaked in a sleek black suit that shimmered with concealed technology. The figure removed its helmet, revealing a face that was half human, half machine, cold, calculating eyes staring at them with an unsettling intensity. "Welcome to the Abyss," the figure said, its voice a chilling blend of human and synthetic. "I am Xylar, leader of the Shadow Collective." Zura leveled her weapon, but Xylar merely smiled. "Please, let's not resort to violence. You've done well to get this far, but now the game is over. We know all about your task force, your mission, and your Confederation's feeble attempts to maintain control. You're out of your depth." Jack clenched his fists, stepping forward. "You unleashed a plague on innocent worlds. You've got a lot to answer for." Xylar shrugged, unperturbed. "A necessary test. The galaxy is changing, and the Confederation is no longer fit to guide it. We offer a new vision, one of strength and unity through power. The plague was merely a demonstration of what's possible." Zura felt a surge of anger but kept her voice steady. "You've condemned countless lives to suffering and death. That's not strength. That's terrorism." Xylar's gaze hardened. "Call it what you will. In the end, only those who adapt will survive. The Confederation is weak, and Earth is nothing more than a fledgling clinging to its skirts. But you, ambassadors, you could be so much more." Jack scoffed. "You think we'd ever join you?" Xylar's smile returned, but it was devoid of warmth. "I think you'll find that the choices ahead are not as simple as you'd like to believe. But for now, this conversation is over. Goodbye, ambassadors. Perhaps we'll meet again, under different circumstances." Before Zura or Jack could react, the room filled with a blinding light. They felt the ground shift beneath them as an electromagnetic pulse surged through the base, knocking them unconscious. When they awoke, they were back on the Resolute Dawn, drifting on the outskirts of the nebula. Their ship's systems were barely functional, and the abyss was gone, vanished into the depths of the nebula as if it had never been there. Zura groaned, pulling herself upright. "They let us go," she said, disbelief mingling with frustration. "Why?" Jack rubbed his head, his expression dark. "They wanted to send a message. They're not just hiding anymore. They're playing the long game." Zura nodded, her determination renewed. The Shadow Collective was a threat unlike any they had faced, and Xylar's taunts echoed in her mind. But she and Jack were not deterred. They had faced impossible odds before, and they would do so again. "We'll find them," Zura vowed, "and we'll stop them." Jack looked at her, his eyes filled with the same resolve. Damn right we will. As the resolute Dawn limped back to Confederation space, Zura and Jack knew their mission was far from over. The Shadow Collective was still out there plotting in the shadows, but they were ready, and together they would shine a light into the darkest corners of the galaxy, fighting for a future where hope, not fear, prevailed. If you enjoy this video, then don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell.